words, we're just going to be talking about project number 2. Okay. The difference between this project and project 1 is extremely clear. There's a scale difference, number 1, and number 2, there's going to be a whole lot more things for you guys to consider when it comes to context. And I'll describe what that means. Site, views, approach, topography, so on and so forth. We'll run through those a little bit. The biggest glaring difference is that your project 1 gallery is really one box. You just really did one box, right? At the end of the day, you ended up with one box. It had no ground. It was out in space, floating. You didn't know where the ground was. The only thing like you had to think about is, where's the sun, right? So for the most part, I'm exaggerating a little bit. You have to think about more than that. But you're going to be making several boxes, not one box, more than one box. Okay, so you're already trained in doing one of these, right? As I hold up this model and show it around the class. Now you're going to make one of these and try to have it generate a relationship with several others. So now you're making a family, right? And the title, if you pay attention to the title of this project, it's a study in aggregation and collision. So aggregation meaning how do I make a collection and how do I generate a relationship between the pieces? Before I didn't have to, I only had one piece, now I have pieces, plural. Okay? And maybe the way I make a relationship with those pieces is I have them intersect each other. The operative word here that it's been used for a while is collision, the fact that they're colliding into each other. Okay? And I think that word is being used is because they don't want you to intersect those boxes by just having them kiss cheek to cheek. They actually want them to intersect each other and overlap each other. All right? So I think that's hence the word collision. So you're going to have to be dealing with a site, location. Okay? We talked about the aggregation and the fact that you have to have a response to views and access and solar orientation. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. The difference, to stress the difference between this project and the previous project, we pretended that the other project is kind of flat. We never talked about on the ground. On this project, you're always going to have a slopey hillside, right? On this new project, you're always going to have some sort of change in levels for your project. Okay, this is not actually our project, but I'm just showing you examples of changes in level. And when we come to our first task today in Rhino 3D, we're going to be building one of these guys in Rhino. Okay, it's going to be a generic one that we're all going to follow along with, but when you get to your studio, you're going to be given a particular site. Okay, each studio is going to have 4 different ground shapes. Not everybody's going to have the same one, and you will choose your own. All right, A, B, C, or D. So now we have to deal with not only orientation, but the fact that my ground is not flat. Okay, so you're going to be stepping down or stepping up, etc. You're given an actual location, okay, and that's why because we're dealing with ground that is not flat, it is recommended that while you're working the entire time, you should not be working on a flat surface. Every time you test your model, you're going to be testing it on a sloped surface as you work along, okay, because that's the condition. You will be getting a brief introduction to what a site analysis might be and what it might entail. And those will be the factors that will be affecting your project one way or another. The views, whether they're good views or bad views, If there's a factory right next to my project, then maybe I will not put windows in that area, and you will demonstrate that in your drawings and your model. If I have drainage, like what if my site is this one? Then I know that a lot of water is going to be coming down this, right? Does that make sense? Then maybe I shouldn't be putting a building here. Right? That has to do with site analysis, right? You're conscious about your terrain. Access and approach. Okay, what if I don't have a road anywhere here? My road comes from this ridge, comes down, then maybe my entrance is going to be from there. Okay, so you'll be looking at a few things like this. Solar orientation is a factor. Site profile is a factor. A site profile simply means the shape of the ground in a single line drawing that eventually you will relate to your building. All right. The program is very simple. Even though the project spreads out along the site, it doesn't have a lot of pieces of program, even though it's maybe, for some of you, the largest piece of program you've worked with yet. It's 3 people who are partners in this project, supposedly, and they've purchased the property, and they want to make 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms, one for each of them, to be private, though separate. Okay, and they will share a living room and an eating space and a cooking space. They will share a library and a study at the same time, and all of these pieces will be linked with hallways. Okay, your hallways. Then from there, the brief just talks about constraints and deliverables. Our walls are going to be 8 inches thick. You know, you're not going to overlap anything by more than by less than 2 feet. So the bedrooms and the bathrooms will be on the same level. You won't change so it could be weird, like if you're going to the bathroom and you have a level change between your bathroom and your living room and your bedroom, right? If it's a suite. So that's just one of the requirements. Okay.